The scene is set in the Odyssey Casino. John Stanhope has set out a rather large spread, getting the serving staff to scrub and polish as quick as possible, as it has been known that Lysander Eudocia is coming to visit, and he wants to make a good impression. He has called his clanmate, Mr. Crown, to attend this meeting, as Prince Eudocia wishes to speak of the coming Elysium. Scene begins.
Lysander will enter, not especially finely dressed, just business casual at best, kind of raggedy looking, and look around for Stanhope or anyone who'll lead him there.
As he enters the doors to the Odyssey Casino, Alexander Crown is standing in his normal black and white suit, and he will bow. My prince, welcome.
Mr. Crown, it's been some time.
Yes, sometime. I
How
will
have you
take
been,
you
sir?
to Mr. Stan. Oh, very well, very well. My recent return to the city has been very well timed.
It seems so. Now, please, show me the Stanhope. As much as I would enjoy to stay and chat business, Princeton, things to be done.
Absolutely, if you will follow me, sir.
Thank you.
And Crown will lead him through the casino towards the meeting place.
They will come across a private function suite used for the VIPs or anyone who hires the room. Generally, John uses it when he needs more private meetings. There are no security cameras. There is, in fact, soundproof doors that block the entrances and exits. His butler, Geoffrey, opens the door, allowing the two in without saying a word, but bowing deeply, closes the door behind him, and exits the room. My prince. John bows a little wobbly on his cane.
Lysander tilts his head as if to say, I told you not to do that, and just outstretches his hand. Mr. Stanhope?
I am a venturer. Decorum is everything. I'm afraid it is something I have to live with when dealing with us.
If you insist.
Come, sit down. Have you partaken and fed this evening?
I have.
Excellent. Down to business. What is it that you wish to discuss, Monsieur Dossier?
I was hoping to see how the preparations for Elysium have gone. I'd like to get this Elysium moving as soon as possible, frankly.
Excellent. I have called in my clanmate, Mr. Crown. I'm sure you two are acquainted.
Yes.
He has been given rights of the first founding security and Dragonstone security held by the Venturer. He is our leading expert on making sure that this Elysium will go off without a hitch.
Good to know.
Mr. Crown, would you care to speak of the improvements you are about to impart upon this casino in the manner of its security?
Well, in terms of improvements, I have, since I've returned, gone to what I would consider the weak spots, entrances, exits. There will be no entering and exiting this place without either my knowing or my security group knowing. I have taken some liberties with security cameras and increased my security staff.
I trust these cameras will not be recording the Elysium itself.
No, my prince. They will be mostly focusing on every single entrance and exit.
Fantastic.
Plus, they will be recording outside of the the perimeter and making sure that nothing will get within 20 meters of the theater without my knowing.
I would also like to add, Prince Eudocia, that since the violent attack on this very theatre complex by the insane criminal Mr. Wraith, formerly of Clan Malkavian, I have taken liberty into establishing my influence to create concrete barriers, making such a hit-and-run attack impossible.
That is very reassuring.
I'm sure the Prince is very much aware of my own personal contribution in bringing down this insane madman, an enemy of the Camarilla. Something, unfortunately, I have yet to be rewarded for, but the crimes of your predecessor, I suppose.
Lysander will smile. Very, very blunt. Stanshope, I'm gonna be straight with you. Yes, you have contributed to this domain, and I think it is time you receive some domain as reward. Why don't you suggest an area to me?
Ventru hold a lot of business and districts, but to my own personal taste, Nobility Hill is an area which I share very much alone in the kindred community. I believe I'll be able to protect it very adequately with my clan's support.
The entirety of Nobility Hill is too much to ask. Do you have a map of the city on hand? Anyone?
I have no need of maps, and he just taps his head. I can show you a sketch if you prefer.
That would be fine, thank you. And he will reach into his pocket and hand you a pen and a notepad.
John will detail a very accurate map, like literally like a photograph. He's not that great a drawer, but all the details are in there to immaculate detail. Whole of Nobility Hill would be a vast domain, something that even my ambition would gawk at, Prince Eudocia. But a small swathe. As Prince Eudocia is studying the map, John leans into Mr. Crown. How goes the acquisition of your security companies, Mr. Crown?
They're going fine. The only issue I have is, well, unfortunately I'm not the best Ventru, so I don't have a huge... Well, I don't have a mind for business. I was hoping to talk to you a little more later about the actual red tape.
If you require someone to go over the paperwork and help you with the more financial aspect of the business, please call on my accountant. He is my retainer in the blood, Mr. Brooks. He has served me very well. Do not overtake his time, but until you can find your own financier or mortal pawn, he will do well.
I would be happy to speak with him.
As seamless as possible. Dragonstone security is a monolith. I know you'll have to get through Fell's disgustingly cunning eye for detail in contracts. It will not be an easy task. I have to warn you though, although First Founding security is now completely yours, 50% of Dragonstone is run by Lady Iris.
I don't see a huge issue there.
Perhaps, but don't let her muscle you out of your fair share.
Wouldn't dream of it. Mr. Stanhope, wouldn't dream of it.
Lysander will finish looking at the map. A swath of Nobility Hill would be acceptable. He'll kind of study Stanhope a little bit as he looks back to the map. Now, I don't know where your personal investments lie around here, so let's say we pick about 6-7 city blocks.
That is most generous, my prince.
I trust you can keep it secure. If such is not the case, as with any domain, it will be taken back and repossessed for the city.
Of course. It will be my responsibility, and I will endeavour to make it secure.
Very good.
Meanwhile, I wanted to ask you, how is your domain? I received news from my numerous contacts that there was an explosion in Chinatown.
Yes, I overheard it, but alas, I haven't had the time to look into it just yet. I've been figuring out how to divide domain between the residents of our dear city at present.
Of course, if you wish, I have made a cursory investigation. I can give you the information you...
If you would be so kind.
It's always my pleasure to help the prince and the city, especially when it comes to matters of security, Prince Eudocia. The actual area that was destroyed was a previous domain run by a Mr. Flint, a gangrel anarch, wanted for crimes against the Camarilla after the oil rig explosion. He was captured and brought to Wolf, but then nothing was heard of him since.
Just making a quick wits roll to see if I remember that name. And I do. He nods. Go on.
The police report states that it was a gas leak, but nothing untoward was happening. However, an eyewitness claimed to see two shadowy figures in hoods disappear from the crime scene and were there just beforehand. She claimed in her report that the area got darker when they were there.
Darker. I see. That is very helpful, Mr. Stanhope.
Do you believe that this Flint, this bomber, could be back in our city?
I wouldn't rule it out entirely.
May I say something to you in confidence, my prince?
Certainly.
At our directorate, Lady Iris told me she made a contact with a new gangrel and refused to give up the information of who this new contact is. By my own research into my previous position as Keeper of Elysium, I knew from Kennedy's old records that Mr. Flint was a gangrel. This could be a pure coincidence, but
It doesn't look like one.
I worry that Lady Iris might do something rash, like rig a bomber anarch against this Elysium to ruin my reputation, and perhaps make herself more valuable to you. This is purely suspicion. I have no evidence to back this up, but I would like you to be aware, and you as well, Mr. Crown, so therefore we may perhaps plan in advance for a worst-case scenario.
Please do. Mr. Stanhope, I would like to reward your initiative here with a minor boon from the Crown. Do with it as you will.
I am most humble at your generosity, Prince Eudocia.
Now, I wouldn't go looking too closely into Iris for now. She's already suspicious of you, I think. I will start digging myself.
As you wish, my prince.
Now, if there was nothing else,
Is there any particular requests you have for this Elysium, any entertainment or precautions you wish to bring forward. How grand do you want this Elysium, Mr. Yoshi?
Well, as you know, I'm not fond of ceremony, so I leave it to your discretion. You know what you're doing.
Certainly. But a little hint of the impression you want to give. The theme of the evening.
Nothing too grand. Just, as you know, I prefer practicality. Just enough to keep spirits up, that's all.
I will try my hardest to subdue my bon vivant nature.
As I said, Mr. Stanhope, I largely leave this to your discretion.
As you wish.
I don't like to fuss. Good evening.
Good evening, my prince.
Good evening, Mr. Crown. And he'll nod and make his exit.
So, Crown, do you think it's doable?
Doable, Mr. Stanhope?
This Elysium is going to be a very difficult thing.
Protecting someone in a...
Carry on.
Hmm. In the past, I have felt that my security for this casino has always been top-notch. But due to recent events, I have felt that my security is lacking. I will not, however, make the same mistakes. This place will be a fortress with the outer shell of a grand, beautiful masterpiece.
Your confidence inspires
Security
me.
will be subtle, yet strong.
This is the perfect opportunity for us to show that our clan is not broken. If this becomes a disaster, it could spell doom to our status within the city. There will be many kindred at this, of all stripes, from independents to anarchs. Let us hope that they behave themselves.
For their sake, Mr. Stanhope, I hope they do.
Perhaps I will create a special vintage to calm troublemakers down. A relaxant in the blood, perhaps some barbiturate or sedative.
Not a bad idea.
Yes. Is there anything you need of me, Mr. Crown?
Simply the number of your men that I can get in contact with the security firms. I'd like to get started as soon as I can, bringing it all under one roof.
It's a good plan. Alfred, Reb's old butler, is now in my employ. I can arrange for him to go over the transference of the will as well as the stocks within the security. We shall do so immediately once we leave this room. From there I will call Mr. Brooks. He will be on loan to you for a week while you sort out the finances. Does that seem acceptable?
Absolutely.
And we're going to have to try and create more of the tags or whatever collars Williams used to allow mortals to work in the casino if we're going to have any security staff on site. Other than that, we might have to work with the sheriff.
It would be a sign of good faith to involve the sheriff.
Excellent. If you have time, I would request that you make a meeting with him. I will do the same. He is a Tremere, but he has a glowing reputation. Besides,
I have a decently good rapport with Tremere. I was very close to a few Tremeres back in the old days. Crown will kind of look off into the distance for a while, and his eyes briefly tend to glass over, and then he quickly looks over his shoulder and kind of shrugs it off. Is there anything else you need of me, Mr. Stanso?
no. Thank you for attending this meeting. It is important to have all the Ventru on side, and you are a talented individual. I look forward to seeing the results.
Crown, who has remained standing through this entire meeting, will straighten his jacket a bit, and he will give a slight nod to Mr. Stansup. Well, then you have a good evening, Mr. Stansup.
And to you, Mr. Crown.
And with that, Crown will turn and walk out.
And the scene will end.